It's going. It's going, Greg. Play the theme song, Greg. Get to the theme song part.
That is the theme song part. It's all the same. It just there's no lead because it's layered.
Hey everyone, you're watching Another Way Around, the AwayCast. I guess this is an AwayCast, right?
Yeah, it's a AwayCast. It's a AwayCast Hangout edition.
AwayCast live. Greg, hit the clapping hands.
Hold on, I got this.
You were all set with this stuff earlier.
I got you playing on YouTube. Yeah. Perfect. Yeah, we're just getting used to dealing with this Google Hangouts thing because we're too ugly to ever try it before. I think we did it for our first two podcasts, right? For 1 and 2, and it was miserable.
Dude, back in the day, we were running Google Hangouts while we were doing Skype. It was a...
Oh my god. To think that the setup was any more primitive than it already is, because Greg, we used all Greg's equipment, and I guess, yesterday night, or 2 nights ago, Greg got a new PC and a whole bunch of crap, and what happened was, Greg?
Yeah, so I was in the process of updating everything, and right now Pro Tools is a little bit buggy. I need to get a dedicated hard drive. So probably in the next 2 weeks we'll have a better setup than we've ever had. But for
also,
right now,
I don't know if you can tell, but when Greg speaks, you can see how much he's decorated the studio. There's a lot of really nice flourishes on the wall. He's gonna.
It's starting to look nice in here.
Wow. Yeah, wow. I really like what you do. You have to speak. Go ahead, talk so we can see.
It's all coming together here. I just had this tree put in right here, and then I put this building in.
Wow.
Right here.
It's amazing how you can almost make it look like you're somewhere else.
Exactly.
We should use Google Hangouts all the time.
We should.
We got started late, huh? It's like 10 after 10 at this point. Today's the first day of the Steam sale.
Yay, Steam!
I just spent like $60.
Like, really?
Yeah, I just bought because I had a wish list of games that I've been wanting for a while. I wanted to get all the Fallout games, all the Half-Life games, just have everything on my new computer, and everything was 40% off, 80% off right now. So I just bought everything and just got it out of the way. So
there's that feeling when you get a new computer that you start rebuying games, especially when they're cheap, because you're like, I don't want this shitty Xbox 360 version of Fallout. Let me get the PC version. Maybe someday I'll mod it. It'll look cool.
Exactly,
At least it's always right there to just pull up digitally. I did the same thing.
Well, when it started this morning, I couldn't wait. I was waiting like a runner, and when the sale popped up, I was immediately disappointed by what they had. I was like, I'm not gonna buy any of this. What the hell am I gonna do? And in about a half hour, I bought 4 games just because I needed to buy it. And Greg, you have a Steam gift card right now.
Yeah, that's why I had a $150 credit just sitting there. So now I'm just buying shit like crazy right now. I also bought XCOM because I never played it, so I just grabbed that for $7.
Well, the Bureau or the XCOM Enemy Unknown?
Just Enemy Unknown.
Okay.
One.
Oh God, so good. You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
The one you should play.
Well, we're here to talk about E3, right? And Josh, you're probably sick of talking about E3, but you were at E3 last week.
Woo!
First time.
Yeah, it was the first time ever. Yeah, there we go. Thank you.
We have a soundboard. Greg, keep on coming in with those.
Sure.
Josh, we tried to record the other night, but you started off. I guess we could pick up where we left off when we talked about what were your first impressions of visiting Los Angeles for the first time?
City of Angels. The City of Angels and the City of
Goblins, City of Angels.
Yeah, it was. LA's a weird city. That's kind of what I came away with. It is dirty. There's a lot of trash everywhere. There is whenever you go to a large city, you guys live in New York. I live in Chicago. There are definitely issues with homeless populations. I've never seen so many people just bunking right in front of hotels though. There's garbage just everywhere. There's no public places to put your garbage. There's no public trash cans. People just seem to be like, you know what, fuck it, and just drop it.
Is there a decent subway system there?
No. And there is a subway system, and
because a lot of the homeless people in New York, they hide in the subways.
Yeah, in Chicago too.
Homeless people.
um,
Sorry, that was dark.
yeah, did have to take the subway at one point, and like it got me where I needed to go, but it definitely didn't look like it was anything that you could use to successfully navigate Los Angeles. That being said, talking to all my friends, none of them have cars. They all get around on buses and trains and whatnot, so it must be somewhat reliable.
So what was it like getting your passes and actually making it? You went to every press conference, I believe, right?
I did. I started the day with Microsoft, and EA, Ubisoft. You just get on buses. Like, it's so funny that press conference, like, it's relatively the same, right? We're all seeing the same trailers and getting the same announcements at the same time.
Right.
The only difference is that in between every single press conference, instead of having 45 minutes or an hour to be like, oh, when's the next one start? Or actually, if you're at work, being like, all right, I'm working now. You just go on buses. You just instantly leave wherever you are, get on a bus, and a bus will take you to your next location.
Right.
I knew nothing about Los Angeles at the beginning of the day, and I knew nothing about it at the end of the day because all I knew was just look for a bus.
Right.
And that's what I was doing.
Well, from what it sounds like, you want to just avoid all the homeless anyway. So
Yeah.
we probably sound like arrogant, like privileged middle
Oh,
class.
such a
Avoid all the homeless. Don't look at those people, please. So, so you know what we should do? I guess we should just go, since we're obviously don't want to spend hours and hours on this thing. We'll start with how it started. I mean, Josh, you got there what night?
I flew in on Sunday afternoon.
Afternoon, and then you met with Nate because you guys are roommates, right?
He came in Monday. So
okay.
Sunday, I had all of Los Angeles to myself, just me and the homeless, and I didn't actually do much of anything. Like I had some friends who lived out in Los Angeles, so I went to go see them.
Mhm.
And for all the smack I've talked about Los Angeles, now I'm gonna contradict myself. It is like a beautiful city. Like the idea of Los Angeles is beautiful. There are all sorts of palm trees, ridiculous amounts of palm trees. It's always perfect weather. It's really there's a lot of cool architecture. It's a cool city. Ideally, I just wish they'd clean it at some point.
I like the way you say palm. You actually pronounce the L in a very airy way.
Yeah.
Right, Greg? How do you say palm, Greg?
Palm or palm?
Palm.
Palm.
Like palm tree? Like a palm tree? P-A-L-M?
Palm.
Palm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Palm.
like the palm of my hand.
Palm. There's
They're
an L.
spelled the same.
You're right. And I say them both the same.
You say palm.
The palm tree and the
You
palm
say
of my
palm.
the palm
Palm.
tree
Palm.
and the palm of my hand.
So, Josh, you stayed at a nice hotel, nice ritzy hotel, right?
It's crazy. The studio audience is just jazzing us up tonight.
They love us.
Was it anything like the Revere in for PAX East when we went?
I don't think it's not quite as nice as the Revere, but it was
Nice.
Like, you get like all those downtown hotels are perfectly fine.
Right.
Do they have
Gross.
mentholated soap?
No,
Ooh.
no. Like, see, this is the step down. There was no like mentholated soap. There was no like, I don't know. It was not quite as nice. That being said, they did have just little pockets of soap that I could pick up and take with me if I wanted. Unlike the Revere had it like jerry rigged into the wall. Like, hey motherfucker, don't you steal our soap?
Greg, I never asked you when we went home. I opted in to purchase you a nice bottle of that stuff. You never told me how it was.
And I will tell you, it was great.
Was it good? All right,
Yeah,
good.
I still use it
Save a
daily,
little bit.
and it's really good in the summer because it keeps you cool all day. I recommend mentholated soap to everyone, please.
Do you not wash it out? Do you let it sit in your shorts when you just like through the rest of the day?
Yeah, I just leave it on like just a protective coating on my
Do you-
body.
Do you get it all in the beard?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gives you the tingles.
I love it.
But now, which was better, the Revere or the soap that I got you?
The Revere, sorry. The soap you got me doesn't last as long, and it's not as intense as I thought it would be. But both soaps are great. I just highly recommend mentholated soap.
Okay. Thanks, Greg. Well, that was our sponsor, Mentholated Soap. So, Josh, Monday morning, what time did you have to get up? Were you jet lagged up or what?
A little bit. I mean, it's only 2 hours, but it's still like every day at like 2 o'clock. I was like, why do I feel real tired? I'm like, oh, that's right, because it's 4 actually. we got up at 6 a.m. the first day. That was a little rough. I had to go get some coffee, and I was a little hungover. Then we got onto the bus. And this is like the first day I'm meeting with my editor at New Game Network, who this is like the first impression I'm making on him. So here I come, like hungover to the first day, being like, I promise this isn't how I normally am.
Just let me know how much they're paying us to be mentioned on the podcast. But go ahead.
And we hopped on buses. That's all we did. We just hopped on buses the entire time.
Greg is sitting on top of that soundboard waiting.
I know.
He's just waiting to pounce on any opportunity. And we set him up there. That was good.
That's good. All right.
And
So-
we should keep setting him up.
So first conference of the day was Microsoft, right? And do you think there's some kind of confidence thing, or if there's some kind of like draw straws as to who gets the first of the day?
No, I think from my understanding, like those slots are set in stone and have been set in stone for like a long time. Like this is the way it is because this is the slots that they have booked until they stop booking them. And if someone ever like drops out of their slot, someone else can pounce on that. So I think from my understanding is this is just the way it will always be.
Makes sense. So you get to what theater was Microsoft in?
It was in like it was in the USC like basketball stadium thing.
Okay, cool.
It's where the Trojans play.
They did something a little different with their setup this year. They had like mini stages among the crowd and then like a main stage, right? Wasn't it a little different?
Yeah, and that gave me a great view of the teleprompter, which is actually what I usually ended up doing, was just sitting there reading a teleprompter.
All the magic. All the magic is gone now, huh? You don't.
No, I was also like, no, I'm getting the exclusives 3 seconds earlier because I'm just reading ahead of what you're saying.
Oh, that sucks. I would have closed my eyes.
It was fine. Like no one at Microsoft, no one at any of these press conferences is a particularly amazing speaker.
So before this, let's talk about last year for just a minute. Like, obviously last year Sony was an A. They dropped bombs. They took over the show, made Microsoft look stupid because they hit all their weak points, right? And kind of set themselves up, Microsoft, to only improve this year because last year was like a complete fucking disaster shit show. So, overall, I mean, we'll do our assessment after we're done, but they came out, I think, a little more confident with Phil Spencer at the helm, right?
I definitely think that Spencer's the right guy to see them through in the future.
Yeah.
It was funny coming out of the Microsoft press conference. They talked about a lot of games, but in the end, like when I thought about it, they didn't talk about a lot of exclusives that particularly jumped out at me.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's true of this entire press conference, this entire E3. There was nothing. I don't think anyone dropped a bomb or anything like that.
No, not at all.
But I do remember just coming out of there, just being like, "Man, that was a lot of games."
It was nice. The attitude was nice, though. I thought, like the whole the vibe that Phil gave off about kind of like how it's not about like fighting anymore. You know, the console war thing where it's not happening. We're not about that this year. It's just about showing games. Who gives a shit? Let's just show awesome games.
He's lying a little bit at least, but
but there was no punches thrown, and that's kind of nice for us to kind of just watch this thing happen without any,
Right, because last year it was just like.
That's all
Microsoft
it
was
was
a
like a
punching
wrestling
bag.
match.
Nintendo was non-existent. Microsoft was a punching bag, and PlayStation was just like one after another, setting them up and knocking them down, and you're just like, ow.
Yeah.
I also think that last year, like even from a CEO level, there was probably a lot more tension last year, just because the future was pretty uncertain for everyone. Like no one knew what these consoles were going to sell or how they were going to sell. PlayStation and Microsoft or PlayStation, Xbox were selling very comparably at the end of their life cycle, going console to console. And so I think that there was a lot of tension, a lot more of a it was a lot more inviting to strike at each other. Whereas this year it's kind of like, what does it matter? Like both of them are successful. They both are.
The console, God, it's almost like you hear it all the time now, but the console wars thing it transcends generations at this point. Like it happened back in the day. They're gonna have that movie coming out, right? And that's how it is. Shit gets thrown when stakes are high, I guess. So, but this year I think from all three, we saw very, very safe safe bets. So starting with Microsoft, they came out and the first thing they showed, which is surprising, and which is not that it's surprising to see this game. Obviously, we knew this game was coming, but it was surprising that they came out with it first, because typically this is like like the keynote part of it. But I think now that they're aware that people are expecting certain games, that they kind of just get them out of the way, And I think every conference did that. Sony, Ubisoft, EA, whatever. So they came out with Call of Duty Advanced Warfare, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, what are our thoughts on that? So far we know that it has timed exclusive content for Xbox. Obviously, they do that all the time. And my notes, it says, drop pod, high energy, smashing into building. Guy playing it on stage is silly. Infrared grenades, plenty of particle effects, laser guns, and some fun new jump pack tech shit. First of all, that's one thing that has to get the hell out of these conferences, is dudes standing on stage like, trust us, it's gameplay. Look. And the guy's like this, he's rotating the sticks over and over, and everyone's like, dude. And the people that are working the conference, like the people that are working at Spike, are doing those long panning shots, right? And not showing the gameplay on the thing.
It's not even like who cares? Like for me, I just want to. If anything, I'd actually prefer them pre-record the gameplay and make sure it's awesome, just so it's going to be. And I think it is anyway. But like having a guy on stage, it doesn't really matter to me. But I'd prefer. I guess I wouldn't mind if he wasn't there.
Yeah, I don't want him there. It's annoying.
Get that guy out of there.
Get him out. He's gone, and he looks stupid.
Get him out. Get him out.
So let's not spend too much time on Call of Duty, but I don't know. It looks all right, right?
I didn't like the Ghost campaign really. I couldn't get into it. It was kind of boring to me. I don't know. I gotta maybe give it another go. But this kind of game for me, it looks like a campaign I'd enjoy. I don't know. Someone referred to it as being the ODST of the Call of Duty games, and ODST is one of my favorite Halo games. So if that's the case, I'll be into it.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. It looks like more Call of Duty. Like it's blowing shit up. You're shooting guns, right? Like, no point did I go, man. This is a whole different Call of Duty formula. Like,
do you think they're taking cues from Titanfall and maybe like Battlefield 2142? And I mean, obviously it's the future thing, so everyone's trying it, but maybe the speed will be different in this. I mean, jump packs and crap. Is this something that would help dig this out of the dirt?
I don't know if it's in the dirt. Like I don't think they care. Like I think they'll just make that game, and they'll put Call of Duty to the title, and like they want to give Treyarch or Sledgehammer, they want to give them a little rope to play with, like they did with Black Ops 2. Like they moved it to the future. The first Black Ops was set across the timeline of the Cold War. Like ideas like that are kind of what as much slack as they're going to get. But they're not going to revolutionize that gameplay. Everyone signs up every year. Even that they had I don't know if they had a down year last year. Maybe they didn't sell as much as they hoped for.
Right.
But who the hell cares? It's still constantly on top 10 lists. I don't think they need to change anything because they're still going to sell, billions of dollars worth on that game.
Of course. All right, so whatever, new Call of Duty, right? Then they showed a little Forza Horizon 2, which, you know what, I got Forza 3. Does that sound right?
For the Xbox One? No, Forza 5.
I think it sounds right. I think
Forza
it sounds
5?
right.
Forza 5, yeah.
Forza, yeah. That's in my past year with next gen stuff, or past 8 months, I think that's my biggest regret because I played it for like 15 minutes.
Yeah, so that's what I did with Need for Speed.
I can't play racing games without a gimmick. Like I need Burnout.
I can't play racing games at all. I just don't get it.
Mario Kart.
Yeah, I mean kart racers are cool, but racing sims just don't do anything for me. That being said, the people I talked to that are into racing games liked the first Forza and they're excited about the second one.
All right.
I don't know. My personal feelings on racing games are just kind of like.
All right, now you set yourself up for that one.
Ooh,
I've been dying to use the cricket this whole time, so.
There you go. I'm sure we could use a few more time. Save it for when Josh has a good joke.
I will.
Yeah.
So Josh, we got to see this at PAX a little bit. I didn't get to play it. We should have played it, but the line was like 2 hours. Evolve was the next game that they showed, and they showed off a new monster. What's it called? A new
Yeah, like Goliath is what they call it.
Goliath,
I think
right.
it is a monster. Like, because Goliath was that type of monster.
Right, and they showed the Kraken.
Yeah. So I got to play it again. And that game's still fantastic. And like one of the worries we had was like, is it going to get repetitive just switching between these 4 classes and one monster? But actually, like, there's going to be tons of different characters in each class, and a few different monsters to play through. And I think that's going to make that game go a lot further.
So my worry in the beginning, just to refresh, is just basically that, okay, you're going to have 5 people playing this, 4 people cooperatively against one monster, right? And now what happens when the map switches over, right? So do the 4 people, does one person go into the hot seat as the monster? Do the 4 people rotate? Like, that's where I was confused, and I was worried that, like, if the person kept being the monster, the Kraken or the Goliath, over and over again, maybe they would get bored. Like, do you queue up for the Goliath? Do you queue up for a hunter? I'm not sure on how they're going to do 4v1 co-op.
No, and they haven't specified. That game could use a nice beta in the next couple months to kind of assuage some of those fears and explain how that stuff's going to work. As of right now, like, the one fear that I still have is that game's a lot of fun when you have a representative standing over your shoulder being like, all right, Trapper, now use your arena net and hold everyone in there. All right, now you go over here and do this.
That's like any game, though. People who are going to get good at it are just going to learn it and get good at it.
Yeah.
I couldn't handle that. Just the corporate. I mean, was it that bad that the guy was telling you exactly what to do, that you had no free reign over anything?
I was just giving us suggestions. I mean, it wasn't as bad. There are good and bad. There are some people who will just kind of come in and say, hey, you should use this thing that wasn't explained to you. And you're like, oh, thank you. I'm glad someone told me to use this because it obviously affects my time with it. Then you have those people who will, the worst I had was Sunset Overdrive, where we literally had someone just sitting there being like, you're playing the game wrong. You're playing the game wrong.
Really?
You guys are playing the game wrong. And I was like, oh my god. Yeah, like you just kept saying that. And I was like, then your gameplay isn't making me play it right. So it's not my
right, like you're not putting me in the right direction then, because I should be playing it right.
Yeah.
So that's coming up in a couple of games here, but next, very big for Ubisoft, but they showed during the Microsoft press conference was Assassin's Creed Unity, which leaked already, so it's like it wasn't a huge reveal. Assassin's Creed Unity, huh? It wasn't a big reveal, but they showed. I think in the Microsoft conference they just showed the
cooperative play.
Well, the pre-rendered trailer. Who was that? Right, which was gorgeous.
Yeah. Then they showed some. Did they show some gameplay in the Ubisoft conference though?
Yeah.
They showed the 4-player mission to assassinate the one guy. From some things that I've read, some articles and stuff, it says they're harkening back to the Assassin's Creed 1 and 2, where it's like more about setting up to finally get that one target, rather than like kill a bunch of guys, get into a combat in the middle of the street, kill a bunch of guys, run away. It seems like they're trying to get back to their roots, which is good, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, from what I've got to see of that game, it seems like there's a lot of. I'm just looking at you nodding your head, Greg. Yeah, there's still a ton of shit to do. Like, I think you can kill a bunch of dudes if that's how you want to play the game. I mean, there's still tons of side missions where you're just, catch this pickpocket, solve this murder, defend these people from the guards, so you can kill a ton of people. But if you want to play a more focused playthrough, I think that's going to be an option for you.
Well, big thing is they said they were getting rid of fail states in missions.
Yeah.
Right, so if you're detected, it's not going to desynchronize. You're going to actually play it out as if it were, actually happening, which is, oh my god, I can't tell you how frustrating those chase missions were in 3 or whatever. But I don't know, man. I don't know how I feel about Assassin's Creed moving forward. Maybe the 4-player co-op will make it feel better, but I didn't finish 4. It was too big. It was too much. It felt like just... Greg, we talked about it, right? Like,
I got bored, man. I just got bored of the same thing over and over again, and the environment got kind of boring to me too. It was just a lot of the same thing. So,
To us, we were saying like, as completionist people, or like people that want to clear shit out, like you go to an island and you don't just finish the contract on the island. Like, I want to complete the whole island, and after going here, completing a whole island, going there, completing a whole island, maybe doing like a ship battle in between, it starts to get pretty mundane.
You know, in a game like that, there can be too much content. You know, a lot of people will say, like, you know, the more content, the better. But I think when you put so much content in a game, and especially if you're a completionist, you know, after playing the game for a couple of weeks, you're going to realize you're only 20% into the game probably, because you've been spending so much time completing these areas. The story is so behind you at that point, because you're not focused on the story anymore. You're focused on getting 100%, and you're done. You're bored. New game came out. You've moved on. You know, and that's pretty much what happened.
100% right.
I don't like the missions that actually don't add to your percentage. Freedom Cry had a lot of that, where it was just like you could literally just sit there and free slaves the entire time and not get any closer to beating the game. Like, you know, side missions that don't contribute to the actual progression, like, you know, of a checklist, those are the ones that really tick me off.
It sounds like a lot of filler, and that's how I kind of feel about Watch Dogs in certain ways. But anyway, Josh, a game that you're excited about that I don't really care too much for is Dragon Age Inquisition.
Yeah.
So, go ahead. Show your go ahead.
I am. I'm excited. I said it.
Mortal Kombat, Greg? Not yet.
I don't know. Whatever.
So tell us about Dragon Age really quick, because we have 3 conferences we're going to go through, and
yeah, Dragon Age was cool. It looks like they have learned a lot from the first 2 Dragon Ages, actually. I think this might be the best in the series, which isn't saying a ton, but I hope they can kind of get back to some of the more interesting stories they told. That's
so it. I heard the only thing I really took from this, because I don't really care, because Dragon Age isn't really my bag, but they're consolidating the amount of endings that there used to be, because there used to be something like 40+ endings, right?
Oh, really? I did not hear that they were consolidating endings, which is fine.
Well, they're having like several main ones with slight variables rather than like 40 completely different ones, because the game was, you know, people wanted all the content because they paid for all the content. However, you know, it's that whole thing. It's like, I want to see everything, but fuck you, developers. Oh my god, you don't give me anything. But what makes you think that it's going to be Dragon Age Inquisition is going to be like the best in the series? You think they're taking cues from Mass Effect and trying to learn from
I think they're getting away from Mass Effect, which was the biggest problem with Dragon Age 2, was they were trying to make it a lot like Mass Effect 2, but those games, like Mass Effect is really good because there's a HUD and you travel to all these places from that HUD, whereas with Dragon Age, because it's a fantasy game, they never quite figured out how to have a HUD. The best thing that they've done is they've just made it basically open world. I think they took their cues, which a lot of people are taking cues from Skyrim, and they're like, hey, let's just do an open world. You just go and explore it. You see where you want to go. You just go there. There's no returning to a camp or anything like that.
Right.
There is a central location that you can fast travel to, but once again, like if you want to just explore and just live in the world, you can do that. That looked interesting. The combat, like, it looks like their companion AI got a lot better, which is great because that companion AI has always been terrible. I said, like, with Dragon Age Origins, that game's almost unplayable on console. And with Dragon Age 2, that's just, you know, that's just bad. Like, it's just a bad game. So, to be honest, the bar's pretty low for this game, like, coming off of DragonAge 2. But I think they've made some better choices. I think they've gotten out from under the shadow of Mass Effect a little bit. I hope it's good. I like fantasy RPGs. I'll be there whether it's good or not. So he wanted me to talk more about it. He's on a rope to hang myself with.
He's setting you up for his audio hilarity.
Sorry.
All right, so a big one after that is an Xbox exclusive. Finally, is Sunset Overdrive. Oh my god. We're a fucking Z100 radio show right now, Greg. The morning zoo. Doo-doo-doo. So, Josh, you got to play Sunset Overdrive, I assume, right? You played the 8-player, which you weren't too happy about, right?
Yeah, it wasn't great. Like I said, they kept telling us that we were playing it wrong. We were, you know, trying to stay in one spot and shoot a bunch of people, and they're like, you got to go and zip around. I'm like, we're trying to defend something. I'm not going to leave the thing I'm trying to defend. It's easier if I just stay here. And he's like, no, you got to go and do the thing.
If they want to show off those parts of the game, why wouldn't they let you just play single-player mode and let you explore?
Yeah, no, that's very true.
And on your own, just do that stuff.
So let me
Yeah.
ask you, this guy who's telling you how to play, right? Is he a developer, or is he hired by the booth to run the booth, or like is he just some underling, or is he actually someone who worked on the game?
It varies. I never know. Like, sometimes I'll talk to these people and like, yeah, I'm the lead animator. Yeah, I work on the level design. And sometimes it's like, nah, I'm just a guy. You're like, oh.
Okay. Okay, so the release is set for 28th of October, and October is like a huge month this year for
Yeah,
games.
it's ridiculous.
So they showed a CG trailer, which was like some dude pretty much making fun of cover shooters, being like, "Oh, you can't stay in cover," and he like runs out and does his parkour, whatever. There was an amusement park demo where they showed this huge monster called a herker. Right?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if that's the name of it, but I did see that demo.
And you see a lot of like the particle effects and stuff, which look a lot of like 2D animated. I don't know. I like the style. I like the way that the aesthetic kind of comes together. That's probably the appeal of the game for me.
Kind of gives me like a Jet Grind Radio world.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally Jet Grind Radio, and that's what I want from it.
And I feel like that's also, for me at least, it's going to be one of those games, one of those open world games that I probably will play a lot for a short time. I have a feeling that it's probably going to get old, just because, it's going to be like a, I don't know, even like Grand Theft Auto for me now, I kind of get through them kind of quick because I get bored of the open world games.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. Unless it's like Skyrim, I get bored pretty quick. But I don't know. I see myself playing a game like that for about a month maybe, and then being over it.
Oh yeah, totally. A month is ample time though. I feel like that's plenty. But it's pretty much follows the ideas of Dead Rising, right, Josh? From what you played.
Yeah, I mean it's over the top. Blow something up, wink at the camera. And I think
Greg,
the best
that's an audio. That's an audio drop if I've ever heard one.
What? I don't know. What?
Yeah, okay. But wink at the camera.
Okay, sorry.
Go, do it. Do something.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a joke now.
It wasn't in the beginning. Go ahead, Josh.
Yeah, but no, that's all I have to say on it. I am cautiously optimistic about it. I hope that it's good.
Based on your playthrough, if you were to give it a grade out of 10, what would it be?
Well, that playthrough I feel is like a poor example of what that game's gonna be.
I want the grade.
C.
Meh.
That's a 200.
Yeah, I knew it was gonna be bad. So.
Coincidentally enough, right after that, they showed off Super Ultra Dead Rising Arcade Remix, like
Alpha Infinity.
A lot of different words after that, and that was one of the few announcements at E3 that they were like, "It's available now. Go check it out, everyone." And you're like, "Whoa, something right now I can go get."
And anyone who did probably picked it up, got all that shit, played it for 10 minutes, and went, "Oh look, I'm just doing stuff in different ways," and then turned it off.
I'll disagree.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, were you the one who did you play more Dead Rising this weekend?
I picked it up, and it's funny, and it reminds me of playing Fusion Frenzy for the first time. So
Okay.
if there's people online that are playing it, the hardest thing was finding a game because I don't think that many people picked it up.
Mm.
But it is completely different than like the DLC that's out there already. You can unlock characters from the Capcom universe, which is kind of cool. Like you get to be Hager from Final Fight,
Okay.
and you can unlock I don't know, Chun-Li, I think, a bunch of other characters. It's definitely an arcadey, unlockable mode. Very arcadey. Super reminiscent of old arcade games. You're going for the high score. You're competing against 3 other people. You're grinding to get tokens, and you're upgrading. For $10, I think it's really cool if you can get 1 or 2 people to play with. So, and then they showed Greg's favorite game right after that, right, Greg?
What did they show right after that?
Dance Central Spotlight.
Can we just save time and skip over it?
Yep.
Or wait, can we make fun of the app real quick for it? The cell phone app?
Well,
Like-
that was Was that Ubisoft that did
Yeah,
that?
no, that's you. That's you.
Well, we can talk about it. So we're here anyway. Ubisoft tried to introduce this like dance all over the world app for your phone.
Everyone could dance together with the app. Like I'm going to be on the subway
Whoa.
dancing on my commute using the app.
Oh man, you just pitched the best commercial for that.
Yeah, right. It's probably already being made.
Yep.
It's already been made, I'm sure, for other applications of something else. Like So what it is basically you have your phone, and your phone acts, because it's got a gyroscope in it, right? It acts as a Wiimote, and it can tell that you're moving your left leg. Like it, I don't know.
I don't. You know what? It's stupid. Let's just.
I don't even care. Like
it.
they had a bunch of dancers run out on the stage.
And there was a winner at the end. Some girl in the balcony was the best dancer in the room according to her cell phone.
Josh, how good was it? How funny was that when like people in the crowd started dancing? Because you were in the crowd.
Set up. It was so set up.
Oh yeah, where they like ran down the aisles and stuff like that.
Well, not even that. Like when they were doing the dancing thing, they showed the crowd, and like 2 or 3 or 4 or whatever I saw plants get out of the crowd and they start.
Oh,
dancing.
really?
They're like, what, were you sleeping? You were there.
No, there was no one by us who was doing it. There was just people running down the aisle.
Oh, I think they planted a few people in to like try to generate hype for the crowd, but then they were like, oh, this is a mistake. E3 is kind of weaning away from this kind of bullshit. So
yeah, there's only so many ways you can sell those games, so God bless them for trying.
After that, Project Spark, which we're seeing more and more on. I haven't really done my research when it comes to that. I'm kind of just waiting for it to be ready to be played with. And then after that was, I think you got to play this, Josh, Ori the Blind Forest.
Yeah, Ori the Blind Forest was awesome.
Moon Studios made this. It's an action platformer, kind of.
Yeah, there's combat, but it's super, super light on combat. Like you basically just mash a button and you'll shoot out these kind of heat-seeking missiles that'll just take out guys.
Well, it seems like there's a super emotional tone, right?
Yeah, and like it has that very animated look to it. That's very evocative to animated movies of our youth. And the bit that I got to play, it's very Metroidvania-y.
Right.
Where it's a lot of like looking. You pull up a map, you look, you got to explore little places. It's not like a straight up just like run straight forward, jump up, jump down platformer. There's backtracking. Certain things will open. The game does a great job of being a platform that makes you seek out collectibles. It makes you explore. It's one of the games I'm most excited about coming out of this press conference. Like it played really well, handles really tight. It's fast paced. Like it's very demanding.
I didn't expect that. I wouldn't expect.
Yeah, it moves really quick. It's so good. Like. It's one of those games where the moment you pick it up, you just instantly go like, "Oh man, this is a platformer. This is really well put together." Wow,
I'm happy to hear that actually. After that was I think Microsoft big kind of, their headline of their whole show, which was kind of put in a weird place for pacing. I think both Microsoft and Sony had some weird pacing issues with their conferences, more so Sony with the whole Bendis thing, but we'll get there. But this is the point in their conference where they revealed the Halo Master Chief Halo the Master.
Maybe a wah-wah.
Halo the Master Chief Collection. How could you wah-wah Halo?
What?
No, because you stumbled over saying it. I was wah-wahing you saying it.
This is one of the first things I talked about when the Xbox One was announced that it won't be backwards compatible. I was just like, they need to release like legacy collections of old games then, and I will definitely buy them. I want to have all of them for this system. And I'm excited about it. I love the idea of having all the old Halo games, having remastered Halo 2, 100 levels, 100 multiplayer levels, all like ready to play. That's exciting. That's fun.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing you wait to hear. And some people were just hoping for Halo 2 Anniversary, but they're getting this whole thing, and this whole collection is going to be $60.
Yeah, that's incredible. Now they need to release like a 5 terabyte expandable hard drive for your console, so I can just install it straight on there, so I don't have to get up and change.
You could use any USB 3.0 right now on your Xbox One. Yeah, they released that Dash update with the real names and the external hard drive stuff.
Oh, that's great. You can use and USB 3.0 is so fast. It's like 500 megabytes. It's like faster than eSATA.
And you can use, I think, anything over 250 megs. Obviously, you're going to do the terabytes. So transfer everything over to that. Your hard drive is going to be clear.
It's faster than eSATA. It's 500 megabytes.
Sweet, dude. Push them up. You got to... Oh, well, actually...
it's actually faster than the eSATA cable by about double, so...
Yeah, but does it have 1080p at 60 FPS, dude?
Well, I don't know. Possibly it does.
All right. So it collects all the main Halo games, because what they're trying to do, it seems, is trying to get you into Guardians Halo 5 as fluent as possible. I mean, Halo, only surpassed by Metal Gear, has quite a confusing story if you'd follow front to back, right? Each game kind of collects more of a adds more encryption to the game because there's more and more and more every time, and especially with Halo 4 when 343 took over, they went a completely different direction with where they were going. So what they're trying to do is refresh you here. So Halo 2 is getting the anniversary treatment with all Halo 2 multiplayer remastered. They showed Ascension, if you guys remember playing Ascension when we were Halo 2 guys. That was gorgeous. Like the comparisons, that alone, a lot of my friends who are solely PS4 owners were like, damn it. Like, I got to get an Xbox now because Halo 2. Which is kind of funny when you think about it. 10 years ago that game came out.
Yeah.
So speaking of 1080p, 60 FPS, it's all running on that plus dedicated servers. And then they talked a minute about Ridley Scott's Halo Nightfall series. How do you feel about that? Either one of you?
I don't care about that shit.
Yeah.
What if it's going to be... Damn it! What if... I mean, it's Ridley Scott. It's Ridley Scott.
I don't care.
But he's producing it. He's not directing it.
Exactly. That's what they did with that the Steven Spielberg shit. They were like, oh, the Halo Academy produced by Steven Spielberg or whatever the hell it was, and it was kind of. I know you watched it, John, but when I watched it, it was kind of like kids in college made it. I'm not into that.
It was cool until Master Chief showed up.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ford on was all right. Like it's totally fine. As they try to make this like cross media stuff with Halo, I'm often left going like, I guess there's someone who wants it.
I remember those really awesome commercials. I think they were for Halo 3.
Yep.
You know the ones I'm talking about? They were like so cinematic. They were almost like sad. There was like a guy talking about the Great War and stuff, and they were like really beautiful. And everyone was talking about how like Peter Jackson was gonna make a Halo movie. And it was going to be like that kind of like vibe to it. Mm-hmm. I got really excited about that, but as time's gone on, I'm kind of happy it didn't happen, and it probably shouldn't. Let's just leave it alone. Make some new movies. I think
it was. I think those shorts had something to do with Neil Blomkamp.
Yeah, District 9. I think he directed them.
And Peter Jackson produced District 9. Wasn't he a producer on District 9?
He was a producer on District 9, but I also
it all makes sense. Then.
Yeah. Maybe they co-produced it, but I feel like he directed them.
But that all comes out November 11th. So I'm sure there's going to be collector's editions where you get a full suit of armor and Amazon pre-orders where you get a Cortana life-size doll. So after that, they showed what I think we're all very excited about, Greg especially, is the spiritual successor to a really great indie game, Limbo, called Inside. So, Greg, what did you think when you first took a look at?
Well, if you listen to the podcast, you know that Limbo was on my list last year of favorite indie games when we just did. I think it was an all-time list or whatever it was. Yeah. It was on my list. It was in I think it was in like my top 5. I don't remember though. But you know that Kentucky Route Zero is like my favorite thing ever, and part of that's the story. A big part of that is the art style. So I love Limbo. I love KRZ. And they're not obviously made by the same people, but when you look at Inside, you can't help but think that the art from Kentucky Route Zero somehow possibly inspired the style of this game because it looks so much like it, and for me that's like a huge win. So
right. What do you think about them kind of adding that little flourish of color? You think that's going to help or hurt?
You can't look at this studio and be like, well, they're only doing black and white games. You know, that's just the theme for the art's direction for that one game, and it's really smart of them, I think, to come out and on their next big release, totally step away from that. Totally new art style, but also the same. It looks like the same kind of gameplay, but that's good because Limbo was so strong. And that's what made Limbo so good was the art style and really strong gameplay. So now we have a whole new art style which looks beautiful, and hopefully a similar kind of gameplay. And it'll be a winner if that's the case, I think.
So what they showed was basically you are this young boy, right, running from left to right as platformers do, and eventually you're traversing all kinds of different backgrounds.
It seemed like you were like in like a concentration camp or something. It seemed pretty dark.
Some kind of like governmentally regulated 1984 type weird
Yeah.
thing, and then in the end you get to this window that everyone's looking inside, right? And they don't. That's where the trailer cuts off. So it's a little ominous. You're not quite sure where they're going with it, but Josh, the art style looks cool, right? Did you see it on the floor at all?
No. They might have been taking appointments, but we didn't have any with them. I agree. I think that for a studio that is known for their evocative imagery and their amazing art styles, creating incredible environments, you have to be excited for what they're going to do next. This is actually one of the great things that I think indie developers are finding as they're going on, is that because they're indie and because they maintain so much control not only over their product but over their lifestyle and work style choices, that we can come away with trailers being like, oh, I don't know what that is. It looks cool, but who knows? Whereas like so many of these like AAA games are like, here's everything you could ever want to know about this, and you're like, okay, fuck it, I don't give a shit.
Well, that's what this year we had so much less mystery than we had even last year or the year before.
Well, it's because we're getting the stuff from last year just at a higher resolution now. We're just looking at it. Pretty much the reason why a lot of people weren't surprised this year is because we were really just getting a deeper look at things that have already been talked about throughout the year, you know?
Right. So Batman Arkham Asylum, or Batman Arkham Knight. I wonder how that's going to play. Probably like Batman. Right,
yeah.
And look,
the difference between Rocksteady announcing their next game and Playdead announcing their next game are really cool because Playdead gets so much more control over it.
After Inside came a sequel to a game actually that Greg, you just played because you played the definitive edition, which was Rise of the Tomb Raider.
Ah, yes, that was actually a lot of fun. That game was really, really fun. Reminded me of playing, like, I didn't play the Uncharted games really, but everyone always compares it to the Uncharted games. But I could say I'll compare it to like playing Resident Evil 4, Resident Evil 5, that kind of. And I love games like that. Environment's good. The story was cool. It was one of the few games where I really liked the what are those called? Those quick actions, those action sequences.
Oh, time sequences.
Yeah. The quick time events. I really liked that in that game because they were fun and fast paced, and they like led right into the action.
And if you mess them up, you suffer in a visual way.
The deaths were gruesome.
Which is something it seems like they're going to go with. I mean, the tone for this trailer was equally as dark in sort of a psychological way. Oh no.
You do it again, we're going to have to start paying Hans Zimmer royalties.
Yeah.
This fall.
Lara Croft is back. She's in a room with her therapist.
Go ahead, Josh. Take this one.
And there will be caves. Lara Croft is Tomb Raider.
After that, they went in to quickly show us Witcher 3 Wild Hunt, which we've been seeing for a few months now. Witcher looks great. I'm not too familiar with Phantom Dust. Are you, Josh?
No.
Yeah,
no.
Me neither.
I thought it was a weird series to reboot. Hopefully there's people excited for it.
There are people that are happy about that, and I'm just not familiar. So, moving right along, the next big title, which is probably my most anticipated game, is Tom Clancy's Division.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Thank you. Keep that one on cue.
That's a good one. It works nice.
Really good.
Dude, the trailer for Division like kind of made me a little teary-eyed. Like when
it was good.
When they all came out, they were like, "Get over here!" and they all came out, like surrounded the dudes. And
if you guys have ever read the book or seen the movie The Road, it evoked that exact.
Yeah, I like that movie.
Feeling, and you felt alone because for once you're not fighting an infection. Well, not fighting an active infection in a human host. You're not fighting a zombie. Like the point of The Walking Dead, essentially, the books and even The Last of Us, even all of these post-apocalyptic dramas, essentially what it comes down.
Sorry, it's called drama. So
it's essentially what it comes down to is the zombies aren't the problem and the infected aren't the problem. It's the people that you have to deal with. And what the Division is doing is it's cutting out all that shit. It's cutting out the extraneous stuff. You can arguably the extraneous stuff, and giving us at least story-wise, just people versus people, which I think is cool. Like, that's what the road was. People turn into dark, dark things. They turn into cannibals. They turn into rapists, looters, pillagers, right? So I think the story's there, and that trailer really did a good job of, like, women screaming, and like it was very it could have been a little ham-fisted, maybe a little too abrasive, but I think that it hit it in all the right spots for me.
I think it'd be good if this game has a class system and you can be a rapist, you can be a pillager, you could be a cannibal.
Where is the sound? I have to let me control the sound when Greg talks.
But what sound would I mean? That's a serious thing.
Okay, I just won't click anything then. Not because I can't find it, just because.
Okay, that's fine.
So what do you think, Josh? They showed some gameplay too, right?
Yeah, as much as you are a co-op fan, I am not a co-op player, and so the fact that this is an online-only game that you play with people, I'm like, that's really not my jam. It's really not something that I'm all that into. Post-apocalyptic stuff is cool. That's a cool version of New York that they're showing. It seems like a lot of like gunfire shootouts and using tech and strategy and stuff like that, which is very, very interesting. With all of these co-op trailers, I asked the Assassin's Creed person I was talking to about this, where I was like, whenever you're showing co-op, 4-player co-op on an E3 stage, of course it looks really cool because people are actually working and playing together. And then you get in a room with, 3 other people, and someone goes, all right, well, I'm going this way, and someone goes, okay, well, I'm going this way, and you're like, well, that's not the objective. It's forward. Why are you guys going off over there? And so I hope that there's a way to incentivize really working together as a team.
Right. Well, I think there's a little bit of a resurgence this year of games that require communication-driven co-op. You see it with Rainbow Six Siege.
Mm-hmm.
You see it with the Division. You see it with the Division. You see it with
Evolve.
Legends. You got it. So I think what happened is over the years with games like Dark Souls and 1001 Spikes and just this increase in enjoyability for difficulty, I think the natural progression was to have it be cooperative and very difficult, right? I think that was a natural child of the two things, which reminds me, Josh, did you get a chance to play Helldivers?
Mm-mm.
No? Okay. That's another one. It's for PlayStation exclusive. Anyway, so The Division, I think it looks great. That's probably my most anticipated, just because loot, multiplayer, New York City. Greg, do something.
Let's move it along.
All right, okay. All right. I have written here, I don't even remember this game, Scalebound?
Yeah, it's from Platinum Games, where King Joffrey comes out and he's wearing his Beats by Dre, and he summons a dragon, and he turns into cement.
Is that
I'm
real?
not making this up. This was the exact trailer.
What are you talking about?
That's exactly what the trailer was. This platinum-haired kid hopped down, he killed a monster, and then he took off his headphones that he was wearing, and then he summoned a dragon, jumped on the dragon, and cement crawled all over his skin.
Wow.
I don't remember. I'm sure it's great. Okay, next was Microsoft's closing, and we'll do a quick summary when we're done here. But their big release reveal was Crackdown.
That's a fun game. I love Crackdown.
Well, Greg, you and I had some fun playing Crackdown when we lived in Florida together.
Look, I'll say this: it's not the craziest, most insane show ender, but I really like Crackdown. So I'm happy with that.
And you know what's funny is they're not calling it Crackdown 3. They're just legitimately saying it's a time for just Crackdown again.
Good, fine. Hopefully it's just like the first Crackdown.
It seems like the trailer's trying to tell us that there's going to be destructible open world environments. I'm hoping.
Yeah, well, that's how the other games were, so there should be.
Oh, like buildings and stuff toppling over.
I guess not at that level, but yeah.
We'll see. But yeah, Xbox and Microsoft, I think, with Phil Spencer, did a much better job this year with communicating to the people what they actually have in store. right?
Yeah,
I'd say so. Yeah.
I thought it was a good. I thought it was a really solid conference.
So it was good, and I think they did much better than last year. So I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna give their conference up from last year. Last year is probably like a B minus, or no, probably a C. Probably C for last year's conference. So I'll say they did a B this year.
Yeah,
Anybody
that's
else?
appropriate.
Anybody
No,
else?
I think a B spot on.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're going to be given a lot of Bs.
B plus.
Well, you guys saw my rating already. You know, a lot of Bs.
Yeah, which I think is appropriate. Like, I think that's true.
Oh, hang on, I have to get the door. Anyway, next up, we're gonna skip the major, the two other conferences. Well, let's just point out their main games, right? So Ubisoft and EA, the main takeaways were they came out. EA came out big with Battlefront 2, Star Wars Battlefront 2, right? But
three, but they're just
three. Sorry,
rebranding it.
three.
Yeah.
Not much on it.
No, they didn't have much to say about anything. They basically came out and said, "Hey, the sports games are coming out. Do you like Dragon Age? And we have a ton of games that are in pre-alpha. Do you like it?" And we all kind of went, "All right."
As soon I knew you were sitting in the crowd, and I texted you. I was like, "Really?" Like, EA definitely by far had the most disappointing showing at E3. That sports area. While I understand that they're like either talking to investors or talking to, I don't know, but it was so thick there in the middle with.
Yeah, it was bloated.
It was thick, man. And trying to get through that and just like waiting for the other releases, like you're waiting for them to announce the things that you want them to announce, and they're talking about like, NHL's fine, and then they have like UFC game where they're trying to pitch like Bruce Lee as a fighter. Like, what's going on?
Yeah, that was kind of lame. I thought that was so lame, the Bruce Lee thing. Like, now we have this, and they showed everyone talking. Bruce Lee was like so amazing, and so now he's just a character you could pick in this game. It totally makes no sense that he's in the game
at all. The same thing happened with Fight Night when they were like, "Yo, you could be Muhammad Ali and Mike Tyson in Fight Night now," and like they use that, they ride the coattails of these famous athletes to sell the game.
Yeah.
Makes no sense to me. So, what else did EA show? EA showed Battlefield Hardline.
Oh, yeah.
I'm telling you, the Payday guys are pissed.
Well, as soon as they were like heists, I was like, oh.
You know what it is though, is that Payday had a lot of problems, for me at least, playing it online. There's a lot of issues with Payday as far as playing with computers, not being enough people in the room or people joining the game. The concept of the game is so good, and if you have 4 people to play it, it's going to be much fun. I have a feeling what they're going to do with this game is they're going to fix all of that shit, and it's probably going to be perfect, and it's probably going to be really good. So.
Well, they announced as they were talking about Hardline. I mean, it leaked a few days before, just like most everything this year, but when they were talking about Hardline, they said that the alpha during the PlayStation conference, which we'll get to, but the alpha is live now, and it's not an alpha by any means. It's more of a beta. But I downloaded it. I got into it. They just made it open, actually, and it's Battlefield. Like, it's just Battlefield. It doesn't feel any different. I'm driving a cop car now. I have to go to this objective to take money out of one area and put money in the other area without dying.
But I mean, is the mode fun though? Would you say it breathes a little life into it, or no?
Not enough. At least this mode. I didn't play the other mode, so I'm only speaking.
Would you say Payday still does it better? Just lacks in some of the the mechanical areas, I should say.
I would really like to try the single player for this game because they're saying that they're trying to be like a cop drama, right? And I think maybe the multiplayer might even be more fun if I kind of got in that mood. What Payday does really well is it gets you in that mood for a heist because you have your characters with their funny names and their intimidating masks, and the way it worked in Payday where you picked which heist you were going to do. Like everyone was like, all right, what do you want to do next? It kind of generated an atmosphere. This was kind of, I guess maybe because it was an alpha, it was just like Battlefield, and the UI hasn't changed, and the guns feel exactly the same, and the only difference is like I'm riding a cop car and a motorcycle, and there's money. It didn't feel different enough yet. But I'll reserve my judgment for the next iteration, whatever it is.
That civilian body count was insane. Like,
What?
can you imagine being the cop who has to explain about knocking the crane into the building? Like,
Mhm.
we got the bad guys. Unfortunately, there are 400 dead civilians. I'm
Like
sure
what? Revolution? Like that's.
Yeah.
That's what the cop says. Excuse me, Mr. Police Chief. I just got one word. Levolution.
Revolution. Exactly. It's a little staggering when you're in an environment like that, like a heist, and you're stealing money, and the streets are empty. There's
Yeah,
no
no
one
one.
around. The city was dead. The game felt so lifeless. I felt like I was doing something wrong, which I might have been.
Maybe that's an add-on. Maybe they'll fix that. Maybe it's like,
Yeah,
all right, we'll
it
worry
could-
about population later. Let's get
Totally.
the game going.
Totally, it could be. EA. What else did they show? I didn't write notes on them.
Again, they did Mirror's Edge Shoe. They did
They showed me
Mass Effect 4 or Mass Effect something is out there. There's a new property coming from BioWare.
Didn't
Who
the
knows
Mirror's
what that
Edge,
is?
the Mirror's Edge video they showed, it didn't look like that the people developing the game lived in the Mirror's Edge world. Like they were all like really like from the future or something, and like they all had like turtlenecks on, and it's very,
Well, that's
like,
also part of being part of DICE Studios. They're located somewhere.
everything was like
nearby.
so minimal looking and stuff. It was interesting.
They're all wearing unnecessary armor. Like one guy's wearing one shoulder pad. He's like,
Yeah.
just we've been developing for 6 months. EA. What else? Football.
There's a bunch of sports. Yeah, there's nothing else to
Exactly.
talk about here.
Let's just move past EA. Let's go to the Ubisoft
Yeah.
conference.
Okay, Ubisoft. Obviously, they showed Assassins, which we touched on briefly. But something that's getting big game of shows is
Hey, let's talk about Aisha Taylor for a second.
Aisha Tyler.
Tyler, yeah, because I've always hated her, but I have to say, she killed it. She was like the best talker out of any of the presenters.
She did
This
well. I think there's
she
some
killed
of
it.
that gamer stuff in there. That's kind of like, all right.
But it's gotten better. It's like the last few years, I've really always felt like she's being almost condescending when she would
Yeah.
talk about video games. This year, it felt like real. Like she like really put a lot into like being a good host, and I thought
Yeah, she had a good balance between like trying to uplift the show and get people involved and still be reserved enough not to be like a total,
yeah.
what do you call those? Like basic bitch, right, Kate?
Basic bitch.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think she had a better balance this year. Totally. I
I think
her.
that it's perfect for like I don't want everyone to do that, and I don't want everyone to do like what Microsoft and Sony do. I think it's the perfect balance. Like that one show, she comes out and tries to like, hey guys, it's cool time. It's 420 up in this bitch, and like that one press conference, I'm like, okay, all right, you get away with it. But like
Yeah.
if everyone started doing it, then it would just become a lot.
They came out and they rattled like 3 or 4 curse words in a row, and you're like, all
Yeah.
right, let's go. It's cool hour now.
Yeah.
But she's been good. I think they have to use her from now on. But the game I was getting to earlier was Far Cry 4, which
yeah.
which had kind of a semi-announcement about a week before E3, kind of like everything else, like I said. But they showed, during the Ubisoft, they didn't show gameplay yet. They saved that for PS4, right?
Yeah, it was just the cinematic thing with the bad guy who killed his own person and then took a selfie with you.
All right,
Yeah.
so you learned that the new bad guy is Pagan Min, right? That's his name, and he is.
I feel
voiced
like
by-
everyone in this game is incredibly ethnically ambiguous. Like I don't know if that's intentional, but like I thought the Hagen Min looked like a white guy, but clearly it's not what they're trying to go for. And then like I thought the main character looked incredibly white, but they're like, no, this is his hometown. He's coming back to. I'm like, okay, I don't know what anyone is.
Oh no. And you get a look at the main character. So what they do is, I guess that was the opening cutscene from the game, right?
Yeah.
It seemed like it.
Look
And
good.
it was super gruesome.
Yeah,
it
looked
was
fine.
very. It looked beautiful. I thought the graphics were fine. And did they say Far Cry? I think they said Far Cry on PS4 and Xbox are equivalent to ultra settings on PC. So that's the first you're kind of hearing that. Which only came out, like 2 days ago they started talking about that. But we'll talk about that when we get to PlayStation. So let's get into PlayStation, right? What else for Ubisoft did I miss?
I think we've talked about it a lot. Like, I mean, they closed with Rainbow Six Siege.
Siege, right? Which is
Looks
not
cool.
Rainbow Six Patriots anymore. It's something completely different. And look good. I mean, Greg,
That game looks awesome.
You're a big Rainbow Six fan, Greg. So what
I
do you?
love Rainbow Six. I was like Rainbow Six fucking Vegas. That game was my shit. But you know what it is? It's Counter Strike on steroids. It's terrorists versus counter terrorists, and it looks beautiful. I always get because CS has like the perfect formula. Like it looks pretty good. It plays perfectly. It's like such a great game. I always wonder with games like this that they look so. The look is so refined and beautiful that they're not going to play as well. That they're not going to, it's not going to feel as good. But if it does, I think it's going to be a great game. It looks like a lot of fun. Obviously those demos are pre-recorded, and they get voice actors, and those games really rely on having a strong team for it to go well. Like you have to be playing with people who are gonna fucking listen and not ruin the whole game. So there's always that aspect of it. But I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm hoping games like that bring a couple of friends together to actually, work together. It's like we were talking about earlier, Josh. Some games are born or broken on those grounds if you have a good group of people to play with. But graphically, it looked gorgeous.
It looks so good. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. I don't know how it was running or what it was running on, but it looked really nice.
They had some of that on the floor, Josh. You have a chance or no?
No, my editor played it. I didn't get a chance to.
Oh, okay.
He came away impressed. He enjoyed what he saw.
So, those two conferences were fine. EA definitely had the worst of the two of anything there. Then we're going to get into PlayStation because I want to touch on Nintendo. We're already running an hour right now, so we might as well keep going, right?
Yeah.
So PlayStation opened with Destiny, which I guess is fine, right? They both conferences opened up with kind of safe bets, Call of Duty and Destiny, both things that we know are coming and we do want to hear more about. So they opened with more of a narrative trailer for Destiny, trying to kind of explaining what the Traveler is and pretty much filling us in a little bit of lore because it's kind of been a mystery at this point. And Bungie is a little pretentious when it comes to this shit, so it was good to hear a little bit of information, right?
Yeah, as for everything that came out of E3 about Destiny, I still think the best thing they did was release that alpha and get people just playing the game, because I think that it's one of those things where once you get your hands on it and you kind of go, oh, okay, this is basically Halo the MMO, like.
Right.
And I think that that's the best thing they can do. Better than any trailer they did at E3, better than any sort of demo. Like, actually playing that game is really where they're going to sell it.
I played the alpha for maybe 3 hours, and after playing MMOs recently, playing WildStar, and Elder Scrolls, and being pretty knee-deep in RPGs, it's really cool to... I mean, I was playing with my cousin. What's up, Kyle? What's up, bro? And it was funny because the other day, Kyle asked me, he was hanging on like this one thing that you said to him, Greg, when he was leaving my house.
Oh, no, what did I say?
You were just like, yeah, really good seeing you, man. Good seeing you, Kyle. And he asked me the other day at a barbecue, he was like, is Greg being serious, or was he being... Sorry to put you on the spot, Kyle.
Kyle, I was being totally serious. I hate you. It was not fun hanging out with you.
Now that we have that all squared away. So
Kyle, I was kidding. You're a good guy. You're a great dude. So, seriously.
Now you're going to be hanging on that, Craig.
I know.
So he doesn't play too many RPGs, but as soon as I jumped into Destiny, I was already familiar with all the systems, and it's a really simplified RPG. You get your loot from this guy, and he was starting to explain stuff to me because I've never played Destiny before, but I was already familiar with the systems because it was simplified action RPG type stuff. Mm-hmm. Maybe a little more than Borderlands, but a lot less than an MMO or something like that.
Yeah.
So aesthetically, the game looked fine. I think the real bread and butter is going to be finally when they increase that level cap and you can actually build your character the way you want it. What'd you take away from that, Josh? You played it for a little bit?
Yeah, and I played. It sounds like we played about the same amount, and I got to the level cap. I hope that there is more story and less wandering around doing random mission stuff.
Right.
The strike mission stuff is fun, but god damn, it's hard.
Yeah.
And once again, that was a product of me and 2 people going in, and I'm like, all right, let's take down this giant spider. And they're like, oh, but look, this room over here. And it's like, well,
Right.
I guess I'll do it by myself later.
Yep.
Like,
I
then
can
there's
see
a
why
bunch
you
of,
don't
like-
like to play online with other people, because you seem like you'd get frustrated without cooperation.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so then, like, there's a bunch of, like, kill 10 of these things, kill 4 of these things.
Greg, play a sound. That actually looked kind of good, Greg, because it blacks out your whole background because the lighting.
Oh, does it?
No, now it's upside down.
All right, we get it.
It's still backwards, though.
So, Destiny, great. Couple unexpected things from Sony. They announced a white PlayStation 4.
Okay.
Sure, hardware stuff, right?
Whoa.
They also said that there's going to be a Destiny bundle, but they didn't give us a price. The alpha for Destiny is coming on the 17th of July. And then they got into an exclusive game, which we've seen a lot for, but they showed a little bit of a grittier trailer, which was The Order 1886. That probably works for that. So, Greg, what did you think of The Order?
I don't have PlayStation 4.
Yeah, you're gonna get it though.
But here's the thing, though, with The Order, though, kind of fits into a category. It fits into like that game, the PlayStation game kind of game, third person, dark kind of shooter thing. It's gonna be good, but there's probably a lot like that. There's gonna be a lot of things that play like that. I don't know. Like I said, I don't have a PlayStation. I'm not that excited for it, but it does look nice.
I think you hit the nail on the head. Like, Sony knows that they have this niche audience where they can literally just go like, hey, this is a cinematic third-person shooter. You like those, right? And that audience goes, yep, we sure do. And they play Infamous, and they play Uncharted, and they play this game, and they eat that stuff up. So it looks like more of that.
Yeah.
I think for me, I really like the setting, and I think the graphics this time. Usually, it's not. I don't really care much about graphics, even though it's great. They're great when you can have them. I think the graphics are going to carry this one for me.
Yeah.
Because the first, not the one they showed at E3 for PlayStation, but the most recent one where they actually showed gameplay. I think maybe a week ago they showed some gameplay. It looked beautiful. It really looked gorgeous. Like, guns breaking off wood, the smoke billowing out of the guns.
That's the kind of world I'd love to be playing as an FPS. Like that
Right.
would be such a cool world to play. And they don't really have that much for PlayStation. That could have been a really good move, I think. I mean, obviously they develop mechanics for third person, but that probably could have been a really nice first person shooter.
Yeah, either or. I think it's going to be good. Like you guys said, it's the default good shooter.
Yeah.
So after that, they got into a game that was actually released. It's another one of the it's out now. Was a game called Entwined. I don't know if you remember seeing that. It's and quote, it's a game about two souls who are in love.
The fish and the tiger or something. And you have to use the two DualShock sticks separately.
Kind of like brothers, you can use them separately.
That game's gonna get boring in about 5 to 8 minutes.
Well, I bet you it's like Flower or like those type of games where it's probably not very long. I bet you it's 3 hours, 4 hours.
It's a stoner game. I looked at it. Just looking at it, that's a game you get high and you go, I'm gonna do this right now. And you get through it in an hour, and it feels good. That's it.
Well, it's available now, so check it out.
Josh, did you play that?
Yeah, just when I was on the show floor, and I think you nailed it. I think there's.
I am fucking nailing it tonight.
It was like I played it for like 15 minutes, past 3 levels, and I was like, all right, this would be better if I was stoned.
Yeah.
Next up was some DLC, which I guess their marquee right now is Infamous for PlayStation. That's their big one. So I loved Infamous. I thought it was a great game. If it wasn't so inventive, but it was definitely the game that you want for PS4 if you have a PS4. And one of my favorite characters from it is getting DLC. What's it called? First Light.
First Light. Yeah.
As opposed to Metro Last Light. It's First Light. It's based on Fetch's backstory, which is a girl sort of um, protagonist-esque character in Infamous.
Infamous hinges on the choice stuff, or it doesn't hinge, but they always shove it in. So it makes me wonder if there's going to be this, because in the end, Fetch has to come to the point in which you find her in Second Son. So I
Right.
wonder how they're going to tote that stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. It's also kind of weird thinking that like as what the hell? I already forgot his name.
Delson?
Delson. As Delson,
Shitty
you were
Delson.
able to absorb everybody's powers. That's your power, is to absorb powers. As Fetch, you only have Neon.
Yeah.
So
But
what are
Neon
they-
was the best of those powers.
Yeah, but to have the option, at least from an aesthetic standpoint, from a visual standpoint, it was nice to have that variety.
Mm.
So I wonder what they're gonna do. But I'm excited for that. I'm excited for some DLC because Infamous was a great game. What was next? Ooh, oh, this was one that I don't think a lot of people saw coming because it was kind of out of sight, out of mind. But Little Big Planet 3 was announced at E3. You guys have experience playing that game?
I played it a little bit, and I've played Little Big Planet 2. It felt a lot better than Big Planet 2 did. Big Planet 2's platforming is very weightless and super and very inaccurate. This one felt like it was much more finely tuned. But aside from that, like I mean, those games they are what they are. It's super charming. It's still gonna give you lots of variety in how you can customize your characters. It's cool to see that in like inventive gameplay twist of having multiple characters. For as much as I don't like playing online with people, I like couch co-op. So it's not gonna be nice to be like, hey, Ashley or Tyler or both, like here, take a controller and you play as this one, I'll play as this one. But I don't think that it's groundbreaking. I think that's a game that's gonna really benefit from coming out in fall 2014 and not 2015.
So, Greg, let's see if you agree with me. Games like Project Spark and Little Big Planet, to me, are kind of like a little intimidating because I don't think I want to take
Here's the
time.
thing. Yeah,
I don't want to take the time to build these levels and really take advantage of the features that they have to offer.
I think if you're into developing these levels, you're gonna like those games. Spark, I'm probably never gonna touch, just because like I just don't. If I was like 15, 16 years old, Spark would be my shit.
Right.
I would be getting home from school and I would be building levels, and then I'd probably end up going to school to make video games. And that's going to be I guarantee games like Spark or any game that has a level editor is almost like a recruitment tool for developers in the future. Same thing with Little Big Planet. Like if I was into playing other people's levels or making my own levels, I'd get into it, but I just don't have the room up here to kind of like get into it,
Absolutely. I mean, people come up with some really crazy stuff, and I would make like a beginning point and an end point and be like, okay, I get it, or whatever. And even if I would make it and then go to the community for feedback. Like I would just want to laugh with my friends.
Yeah, yeah. You got to think though that if you make a really great level in a game like Little Big Planet and it gets there's like isn't there like leaderboards for stuff like that, like how many downloads these levels get or how popular?
Yeah, there's all stats and stuff.
So I mean, there's definitely like a reward to it. It feels good to make something really challenging and good for other people. But I just personally, and it would be a cool project maybe if I sat down with my friends to make something like that. I just don't personally have the time for it. So.
After Little Big Planet, they showed what was known as Project Beast, which people assumed to be another Dark Souls or another Souls game. They released a name called Bloodborne, right, Josh?
And they showed like this really awesome video, but nothing else. So I don't know what the fuck is going on there. I don't know what to expect there. And it also seems like doesn't it feel like that video was like a little too long? Anyone else think that maybe it was like it got really action packed and then it stopped and then there was some weird shit that happened at the end?
Well, people that are into the Souls series saw all these screenshots and like these little 5-second video clips that were leaked on the internet, and they were like excited to see like, oh, what's the next Souls game? And then they didn't show anything. They just showed this long, drawn out, pre-rendered cutscene, and everyone's kind of like, oh, okay, so I guess it's PlayStation exclusive. That's all the info you really take from that. But it's good that PlayStation's getting more exclusives.
You were hoping that they were going to show at the end there Last Guardian, and that didn't happen.
Oh, of course. Every year I want Crash Bandicoot. That's what I want. But anyway, after that they showed Far Cry, some gameplay.
That whole that Far Cry thing with the multiplayer, how people can play if you don't have the game. and it's only on PlayStation.
Yeah.
That's kind of shitty. Like, what the fuck is that?
They
Like, why
pay for
would
that shit.
why do developers release something like, an actual game mechanic only for one of the consoles? Like, it's kind of shitty that Xbox would even let that happen.
That's so yeah. After my time at E3, like you just feel those types of deals happening around you. Like this is all like whenever that shit goes down, there's a name being scribbled at the bottom of a contract, and that's how it gets decided. And I'm sure Sony paid a pretty penny to get that feature.
Well, they also show, with that aside, that's a feature. Obviously, if you're playing on PS4 and someone else doesn't have the game, they can still jump into your game if you're hosting. But they did showcase that there was a second player co-op in the game during the single player campaign. Jump in, jump out. They showed he was in like a gyrocopter or something with a machine gun. I don't know. Looked really cool, man. I loved Far Cry 3 and Blood Dragon. I think they're doing great things with that franchise. So
yeah, I want more.
They showed us some cool ways to take down the AI, crossbows, C4s, blah, blah, blah. Typical Far Cry stuff, but cool that it's in the Himalayas and kind of new, I guess.
I actually felt like Far Cry, as AAA blockbusters go, like that is exactly what I want for a game that I know I want. I know I want more of. Like literally, I just need a gameplay trailer and bam, let's go. I don't need a giant rollout on this stuff. Like I just want to see, just reassure me that you're doing the same thing in a new location. That's all I want.
Right. Yeah, I'm excited, and that's this year. So after that, they showed. I was confused when this trailer came up, but basically, thank you. The guys who made Spec Ops: The Line, what's their studio, Josh?
Oh, Jaeger.
Jaeger. Showed a CG trailer for what I had no idea was Dead Island 2. I figured that after Riptide, they probably were just going to focus Deep Silver was going to focus their efforts on Dying Light, right?
They don't own it. That's Warner who owns Dying Light.
Right. So I don't know. I was just very confused. I just didn't know that anyone wanted to put efforts into making Dead Island 2.
Yeah.
I thought that franchise. Greg, we played Riptide for like a day, I think, right?
Yeah, the Dead Island 1 we played for a while. That was a lot of fun. The Riptide, it got boring really quick, didn't it? And there's a lot of like kinks in it, and a lot of like stuff with quests not working or going back and forth.
It was more Dead Island, and we were expecting something else.
Yeah, when we started, we were already like level 20 because they made the levels carry over, so it was like nothing. There's like nothing to work for.
It felt really weird. There's nothing more jarring than like starting and already putting skill points into your skill tree, and you're not learning the progress of your character. Really takes you away from the RPG elements. But all they showed was a CG trailer anyway of some dude jogging. It was a beautiful trailer, and it was pretty funny, which is weird for Dead Island because it always kind of had a serious tone. I don't know if you remember their first trailer where it was playing backwards, the woman falling from the hotel, and it was the piano. And even Riptide had a similar trailer. It was
Champagne.
Oh God, good memories from that game though.
Champagne.
But yeah, we'll see what Dead Island 2 has in store. I hope. I'm thinking now that they're making MOBAs and they're making all Dead Island 2. Whatever. I'm excited for Dying Light. That's all. They got into Disney Infinity for a minute, which, whatever, Disney Infinity 2.0. And for some reason, I mean, this, as a kid, I would be pissed, right? So Disney Infinity, we're all familiar with that concept, right? And now Disney's bringing Marvel characters in because obviously Disney owns the license. But for some reason, PlayStation is the only console that's going to get a Hulk. What's up with that? What's up with that?
That kind of exclusive shit is such bullshit.
Right, but he's an Avenger. He's an Avenger. He's got to be with both.
It's such a shitty thing to do. It's a shitty thing to do to parents. Like that's a dumb thing to do to fucking parents who fucking. No, I'm not gonna buy you the other console because the fucking Hulk is on it.
Right.
You know. Do they really think that's gonna work? Do they think that that's gonna work?
I don't know. Deals, bro. Deals. That could be some CEO pushing some shit, like Josh says. Like, you're striking deals based on list items rather than opinions at that point. Then they got into a really weird part of this conference where they showed a few good things like No Man's Sky, but they also showed Magica 2 with a really weird live action trailer with dudes in robes.
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess they're trying to showcase some of their indie stuff, but being that Magica has been on PC for a while, I don't think anybody even knew what was happening. They showed a new Grim Fandango reboot, which a lot of people are excited about. I wasn't huge on Grim Fandango, but I know what that means to a lot of people. At least in the short term, right? Like, episodic stuff's coming back.
I think the biggest thing about Grim Fandango is the fact that it's impossible to play now.
Right.
I think that video games need to do that Criterion Collection, thing where they, somehow they have to keep these games, especially something like Grim Fandango, which people very, very much revere as one of the best things that ever came out of LucasArts. It's not point-and-click adventures, period. There has to be a way to keep that game for people to play. And so it's good. It's a good initiative to make it for PlayStation 4.
Cool. But still no Parappa. Still no Last Guardian. And we won't even talk about Crash Bandicoot, which... another exclusive called Let It Die. I don't remember it. Do you remember it?
Super gory and violent and Suda51. And Adam Boyce came out afterwards and was like, video games, right? And I was like, yeah, that's probably the appropriate response to say after that.
Okay, so gratuitous gore. I kind of remember it now, I think.
I felt like a lot of the Sony conference was made up of games like that, like kind of like these weird indie culty kind of games that really it's like very like almost campy niche titles that only certain people, and it was almost like a turnoff to me that they didn't have a lot of things that are kind of like, I don't know, it's like a big event like E3. You'd think that you'd want to show things that, I don't know. I just feel like those niche titles could have just been showed on those people's Facebook pages. I feel
like the industry back and forth in the past few E3s has been teetering, especially with indie games and things like Steam Greenlight and all these options for independent developers to be mainstream. I mean, these companies like Sony and Microsoft are embracing this because it's hearts and minds, right, of the people who are putting money in their pockets. It's people want to know that they're embracing those things, and Sony showed it last year in a big way, and I think maybe they might have done it a little too much this year. I liked that Microsoft just had maybe one or two plus a reel where they showed some really cool stuff during that reel. What's the name of that one game I can't wait for? It's like the teacup guy. It's the old 1920s cartoon that looks fantastic. Anyway, so yeah, Sony goes back into...
But I think Sony uses that as a bargaining chip, when they go to these people like Young Horses or, Devolver Digital, and they go like,
Devolver.
Like when they make those deals, part of that can be like, hey, we give you guys E3 time. We'll put you in front of our biggest audience that we're ever going to see. And I think that, we always think that, fans are watching, business people are watching, but of course developers are also watching. Like indie developers are going to tune in. And the best way to speak to them is to give people like them more time on stage.
Well, and with both consoles being competitive with each other, it's no question that PlayStation is embracing indies more. Not exclusively, but they are taking a lot of stuff that's already on Steam and introducing it to Vita and PlayStation 4 through PSN and PS Plus, right? So there's that. I have another game here, but I don't remember if I spelled it right, so I'm not going to say it.
Abzu?
Huh?
Is that what it was? Was it Abzu?
Yeah, I think it was Abzu.
Yeah.
I just wrote Zoo down.
Yeah.
What was that? I don't
Abzu.
remember.
It's one of the people who worked on Journey and Austin Wintory, the composer, getting together and doing. It was another one of those indie games where they're showing love to that crowd.
Right, like high art, high concept.
Mm-hmm.
After that was No Man's Sky, which it was really cool to see Hello Games go up there and completely be like humbled and blown away by being on stage at a major E3 press conference, right?
Mm-hmm.
But that's another one of those games, man. That's just kind of like, I'm sure that'll be fun for a little bit. But like, how long?
I don't know, Greg. I think you're gonna like it more. I
Dude,
think
how
you'll like it more
there's
than you
no.
think.
It doesn't seem like there's even a game to it. It seems like one of those indie games. Like, oh, this is a cool experiment. It's a cool idea.
Like
Well,
Proteus.
yeah, you'll go to these You'll go to these planets and you'll walk around and you'll see and you'll be an adventurer, an explorer. Look? I ain't got no time for that. I can't just sit there and with no purpose, with no
You need an
story.
objective now.
Yeah, I need a reason only because what am I getting? Eventually it's going to be like the same shit over and over again. Like there's no way every planet's going to be unique and you're going to find like I don't know. Something about it just seemed like experimental and kind of like, eh.
Well, if you want to take anything from it, I think the technology that they're pioneering, or like the code and stuff that they're pioneering, could benefit other games in the future. You know, like this is the first completely procedurally generated first-person shooter that allows like infinite travel.
Is it? It's a shooter? I didn't see any combat at all.
There's combat, right? Josh,
There's space combat. I mean, they're still pretty vague on what, like Greg said, like what the game actually is.
Yeah.
But to that same point, like it's almost like it reminds me of Minecraft. Like the point of Minecraft is to explore and build and share. Like it kind of tickles me in the same way and not me. Like I am like Greg. I don't have time to put hundreds of hours into exploring planets and naming shit. But that seems to be the vein they're going for. Is that, hey, this is that game where you buy this, no other game. You don't need anything else. You just need No Man's Sky.
Right.
And that stuff can be hit and miss. But a lot of people come away sounding very positive about it. Clearly, there's a market for it.
I'm excited for their studio, being that a couple months ago they went through a big thing with a flood. They lost a lot of work. They bounced back from that, and they're still trying to release this game.
You're just getting into the movie. You're not even who cares about the game? You just like to.
I'm excited about the technology because I imagine strapping on an Oculus and like.
Okay, I can see it. I didn't think of that. That could be kind of fun.
And
if I'm high.
No. Pretty good. It's pretty good.
Pretty good.
So the aesthetic they're going for is kind of like a smooth, I don't know, what would you call it, like vectorized kind of look. Not really cel shaded, but everything looks very smooth and clean and colorful and fantastical and colorful. So I'm wondering, if people harness this technology for other means, when things start getting a little ridiculous with the Unreal Engine, say, you start introducing variables. Who knows? Maybe you can live in a whole other Earth that's just procedurally generated based on code that this little indie studio came up with.
Maybe we're already living in there.
Whoa, Brian Redband, chill out. That's from Joe Rogan podcast, everyone. After that, speaking of virtual reality, they touched on the Morpheus like really briefly, like super briefly, and I thought that VR was probably going to take at least like a co-opted main seat at this E3, and it was
touched on it. They just mentioned it, didn't they? They just said, "Oh, we're doing Morpheus." Was it right? We have.
Well, they talked about the DualShock controller and how they had hindsight when making it, kind of giving themselves a pat on the back. But I was expecting to see something else from Morpheus. I'm a little disappointed that we didn't, but maybe it's just not time yet. So I can't be too disappointed. This is where PlayStation's conference, they were doing well. And right here is where they kind of like completely, they were putting the morphine into my veins. I was like, oh, slow down. So at this point is when they brought out Bendis. And they brought out the announcement of the Powers series coming exclusively to PlayStation. PlayStation's network. Hold on, do I have the title of that here? Well, PlayStation Now, Sony Television, what the hell? PlayStation TV. Duh, I could have made that up. So PlayStation TV is going to have Powers as a TV show, and PlayStation Plus users get it free. But they had Bendis come out, who was like a fantastic writer and a fantastic, just entrepreneur in writing in the comic book industry. And a lot of people there probably didn't even know who he was, and he's not a public speaker. And the whole conference kind of slowed down a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, am I putting you to sleep?
Yeah, no, it was completely derailed any momentum they had.
Right. There was also a moment there, too, right before Bendis came out, where they were like, YouTube's coming to PS4. And we were all like, oh, they mentioned YouTube and Ustream and Twitch. So we didn't totally get out of the apps for this conference, but it was fine. They talked about some DLC for Playroom. Okay, now PlayStation Now, not now, PlayStation TV, the thing I mentioned earlier, is actually something that they released in the East, right?
Japan, yeah.
It can play all your PS Vita games.
In the where? Where did they release it?
Japan.
Japan.
Yeah, it just plugs in. You can put your little Vita cards into it and play your Vita games on your TV with a DualShock
If you're into that. They also talked about PlayStation Now, which is going to be their streaming service, where you can actually just have no PlayStation and stream directly to a television, a Sony TV.
If you have a ridiculously priced Sony TV.
Right.
Yeah.
All PlayStation TV is $99, blah, blah, blah. And then they showed Mortal Kombat 10. Yes, okay, you hit your mark, finally. So they showed a really brutal trailer for Mortal Kombat 10 of Scorpion and Sub-Zero fighting each other. What did you guys take away from that?
And the two new characters.
Well, did they show that right away, or was that...
Yeah, they were showing them side by side.
It was a live demo, okay.
I don't really play fighting games, but that looked really amazing. It looks really like if it plays the way that like it looked like it, I mean.
Absolutely, I think Bendis put you to sleep, dude. It seems like Ed Boon has learned a lot doing games like DC, MK vs. DC, and what was that? The most recent fighting game? Injustice, and the other Mortal Kombat games. That I think this is finally going to be where he nails it. Like the other Mortal Kombat games were fun, but they're going back to their roots with like being the pinnacle of gore. Like remember when MK first came out on Super Nintendo, you couldn't even play it with blood; you had to put a code in.
Yeah.
But I think they're pushing the envelope again. I mean, they were showing some pretty gnarly fatalities and bone breaker X-ray moves and stuff. And they showed the two new characters, like you said, which look like they fit pretty neatly into the MK universe.
Yeah, they're inventive. I am excited for that game. I think it's going to be more Mortal Kombat. I think it's going to be gruesome and bloody, and if they can keep it as tight as Injustice was, I thought Injustice was a very well-balanced game. I like the environmental stuff from Injustice. I know it doesn't particularly cater to the Evo crowd, but for someone who just wants to play the campaign of a fighting game and then dick around with your friends playing it, that stuff's cool. It's cool to like be playing with a friend and be like, oh, and look what you can do, and then break off the branch of a tree and knock someone's head off.
Right, that's the extent of fighting games, because trying to play anything online is just like that Evo crowd, you just get destroyed.
Yeah. So yeah, it looks cool. I am very excited for that game. It is highly anticipated. It's one of the very many games that is going to be exciting in 2015.
Yeah, a lot of games in 2015. After that, we got into...
Was it Batman?
No, not yet. The Last of Us Remastered.
Oh, okay.
Which I don't think I'm going to play that again. As good as that game was, I don't think I have it in me to just play it again for graphics' sake. Like I said, it's not that big a deal for me. And even though it looks gorgeous and it's running in high frames, it's The Last of Us. I got what it... There's no way that The Last of Us is going to have the same impact it did than it did the first time. So I don't think I'm going to enjoy it as much. I'm assuming that's the same for you guys.
I'm going to play it again. But that's because I like playing games over again. There are a certain amount of games I like playing over again, and that fits into the category.
Okay. In the same vein, they announced Grand Theft Auto 5 for PlayStation, because it was their conference, but it's going multi-plat, and it's going to PC as well. Right? Did they announce
that
PC?
one I'm going to pass on.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it looks like an incredible improvement, but there's just no way. Like, I can't...
Yeah, I put way too many hours in GTA 5 already.
I can't. There's no way. And then they did not deliver on the online promise, and I just don't want to give them it.
Yeah, that was appropriate.
Metal Gear.
Yeah,
Wait.
It's funny. A lot of people came out of their appointments with Metal Gear very, very excited. I have played the first Metal Gear. I can't get through the second one. It's supposed to be the good one. So I have no dog in that fight. But
I'm excited for it. It looks. It's another Kojima thing. I couldn't even tell you what the hell's going on in Metal Gear, but I can tell you that I love playing those games.
yeah.
So I'm excited for it. It looks beautiful. I really don't know what else to say because they didn't show too much. Josh, anything on Metal Gear before I move on, before Greg falls asleep?
I said my piece. Like I don't play that game, so I really don't have much to say. Or that series.
After that, we got into a series that you do play. They got into Arkham Knight.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I'm sure that's going to be more Batman. I don't know if I particularly need a Batmobile.
From what I've heard,
like
the
Batman.
impressions are that the Batmobile is a huge factor in increasing how much fun the traversal is in the open world.
Yeah, I thought it was fun to traverse Batman Arkham City, but
Batman
like,
games have always felt like work to me. If you've heard this podcast, you know I can't. Maybe this is the one, but I don't know.
I bet not. I bet it's more Batman. I bet you feel very similar to this as you do others, even with a Batmobile.
It looks pretty. It's got a
What the
Batmobile.
fuck is with that Batmobile? It like pulls up to and like goes into battle mode and it's like, it has a minigun, it has a tank cannon. I'm like, oh man, Batman's gonna kill someone. There's no way not to kill one of these.
Yeah. And aren't they playing this up as the finale?
Yeah, that's what they're saying.
So we'll see.
It's the end Rocksteady's finale. I guarantee you that series ain't going nowhere.
And then PlayStation closed out with what everyone hoped that they would close out with, kind of finishing strong after kind of a weird middle period in the middle with Uncharted 4.
Yeah.
Which got me very excited because I'm a big fan of the Uncharted games. Greg, before you said you haven't really played them, I recommend it.
I played the first one. I liked it, but I'm not a big PlayStation guy, so.
2 is definitely the best in the series for me.
Yeah, that's where it hits its stride.
It was the strongest narrative-wise, and you kind of really get a feel for who Nathan, like Nathan Drake and the whole backstory and everything. Anyway, they showed a pretty dark trailer in-engine, apparently, of a highly, highly detailed Nathan Drake on the beach, kind of getting his bearings, listening to Sully speak to him, right?
Yeah, I think there was some back and forth between them, but it was super ominous, like, who the hell knows what's going on. I really hope it's not a dark closing chapter.
Well, the name of Uncharted 4 is
A Thief's End. I know. I still have a hard time believing that there's not gonna that the game doesn't start and Nathan Drake, snaps a dude's neck and comes away with a funny one-liner.
Right. I mean, A Thief's End could be a lot of things. It could be the end of Sully. It could be the end of Nathan. It can be the end of some other thief we haven't met yet. So it could be a whole bunch of things. Okay, so overall, Sony, strong conference, not as strong as last year. Last year I give them an A. This year I'm going to go ahead and give them the same as Microsoft. I'm going to give them a B.
B.
I'm going to actually
Oh, Greg gets a drum roll.
give them a C.
Oh.
Well, Greg, go ahead and tell us why.
I just didn't like all the little bullshit stuff in the middle that I was talking about before. I don't like all the niche stuff. I just don't think it's worthy of this conference. I don't know.
Fuck the bullshit. So if you could take away a positive from Sony, what would it be? Far Cry?
I don't know, because a lot of the stuff no, because I saw that on Xbox too, so I don't really.
Ubisoft. Well, exclusives aside, just in the conference in general, what do you think was the strongest thing from that conference?
I don't know.
Probably Far Cry.
Yeah, probably Far Cry.
That's what I think.
But that still pisses me off, the exclusive just for PlayStation, the multiplayer thing. That's such a shitty thing to me. That's a turnoff to me.
Yeah.
Fuck you. How much money did you pay for that, you fucking corporate cocksuckers?
Microsoft does the same shit, but I don't know. I'm hoping that stuff kind of wanes a bit moving forward. We'll see. So something completely different. The next day, we had our final game conference, who was not at the event with a main stage presence. And that was
this year. My favorite press conference was Nintendo.
Really?
Do you have a sound for that?
I agree. I thought Nintendo had the strongest press
And that's
conference.
funny because Greg always hates on Nintendo, and he
Hey,
wants them
me
to
too.
crash and burn.
You know what though? Nintendo made the most entertaining press con. It was the easiest for me to watch. It was the most enjoyable. Obviously because they made it like a movie. They pretty much pre-recorded everything. I prefer that honestly to most things. I really enjoyed the way it was put together. It honestly made me want to buy Nintendo.
Yeah.
I support that company because they really were lighthearted about it. They took all of the flaws that people always point out about them and they showcased them and said, "Fuck it, this is like who we are and this is what we do."
100% self-aware.
And
It was the only time that I really saw that Nintendo ever broke their bubble a little bit that we all think that they live in. Like they'd never
super
seen.
super smart move because I know you. It lets you know where they know they're at, and that kind of makes you want to stand behind them a little bit more.
Right. Absolutely. So they opened their show. Well, obviously, like we're saying, their show was unconventional. It was pre-recorded. It started with
They had robot chicken skits.
yeah. They had Robot Chicken do some writing for them with some silly jokes. Um, Obviously written by gamers over at Robot Chicken because they were definitely like Reddit type, poking fun at the community type shit. But they opened up with a battle between Reggie and what's his face. Was it Iwata?
The CEO.
I
I
guess.
didn't actually get to see this one. I
Oh, you
just
didn't?
pieced it together. Yeah, because we were on our way to the conference hall.
Well, anyway,
Guys.
it was a silly little thing that they had. Anyway, like Greg was saying. So anyway, let's get to the game. So Smash Brothers obviously had a huge section in their conference, just because it's upcoming and it seems like what's generating the most hype for Nintendo now that Mario Kart's finally out.
Mhm.
And you have to make your own character.
Well, they introduced the fact that you could use your own Mii in Smash Brothers. So what you can do is there's 3 different character types, right?
Like class types, yeah.
Yeah, can you explain that? I just don't remember.
It was pretty much you have the 3 different like class types, and I don't remember what each of them.
It was like fighter, swordman, and
Right.
shooter guy.
Yeah, I think that's actually exactly it. And and I think that's cool. That's 'cause you know what they might not end up being the best characters to play with if you're really into it, but it's gonna be pretty funny to see some of the stuff people come up with as far as the characters that
I know what
they're
you're thinking, Greg. You're thinking Hitler right away. You're thinking Hitler me.
I was actually thinking more of like a
Daniel Day-Lewis?
no, I was actually thinking like Julia Roberts
Oh, okay, right. That was my third guess for you.
versus like a Jared Leto.
Okay, who would win?
Sandra
Julia
Bullock.
Leto.
Sandra Bullock would get tagged in, and she would take control.
Funny you say that because Nintendo thought it'd be funny to, for some reason, make Elijah Wood a me and something else, right? It was like Elijah Wood versus
Like,
Barack Obama
something
versus
something like that. Yeah.
something stupid. So yeah, they went into. Okay, I have it right here. It's brawlers, sword fighters, and gunners. The 3DS version is coming sooner. They also did that thing where all the Best Buys across the nation, well, a lot of Best Buys across the nation would allow Smash Brothers to be playable. And apparently there were like 4-hour waits on lines to play the game for a few minutes.
Jesus.
Yeah.
I will never do that. I will never in my life do that.
It's insane.
Ever.
It's insane, but some people want to play it. So after that, I didn't take much notes for Nintendo, but we can go ahead and. I guess
The new Zelda game, the open world.
Yeah, they showed the open world Zelda, and it was funny because they followed. This is where Nintendo got back into their bubble, was when they were actually talking about their games. Or at least I felt so, because when they were talking about the Zelda game, he's like, "You can go all the way to those mountains," and it's just like, like finally, you're not doing anything groundbreaking here, but we're really glad to see that Zelda's coming into an open world.
If you think about it, one of the greatest games of all time is Ocarina of Time, and the reason why that game was so good is because you literally played in an open world, for the first time, pretty much. Well, then
Right, I guess it's like an open world, sure,
but
in a way.
at that time, as far
Totally.
as open worlds were concerned, like you can literally do this temple first and that temple second, or you can do this temple first. That you can go to the Lon Lon Ranch, you can go to the castle. You can do things out of order or at the wrong time.
I don't think you could. I think you had to do it in order.
No, you didn't have to do an order.
I think the temples had to be in order, right? Because you needed the
As
item
I
to get into the
remember,
next
like,
temple.
you needed to do forest, fire, water, then was it spirit?
Spirit,
Or, yeah,
shadow.
shadow, spirit, and then the
Because you
final
needed the
one.
prerequisite item to get into the next one, and that's the difference about with this one is that it's non-linear. It's more like Link Between Worlds, where you can go anywhere. I mean, it's definitely open world. Ocarina of Time was open world in a sense that like it was overwhelming to say here's a huge field and you can go to a couple different locations like the Lake Hylia or Lon Lon Ranch or the city. What's the city with the mask shop? Whatever. But it felt open world, definitely for sure.
Yeah, Kokiro Village. I'm sure I mispronounced that wrong. Kakariko Village. But yeah, like I agree. Like that was what always grabbed me about Ocarina of Time was being able to like wander through and travel through these places and traverse the area, and not an isometric, top-down look. So yeah, I'm excited for Zelda. This is gonna be what gets me a Wii U.
Right. I think that's the same for a lot of people. You probably have to. I'm sure they're going to make a new Wii U with a Zelda skin and all that stuff, so it'll come in a bundle. They introduced some new IP called God, I can't remember it now.
The Toad game? Is that what you're talking about?
No, not yet.
Splatoon?
I was going to get into school
Yeah.
with the squids.
Yeah.
Splatoon.
Splatoon.
Oh God, thank God. Okay, so it looks like Nintendo's trying to get into competitive multiplayer with this game. What are your thoughts on it? Did you get to see it at all, Josh?
I got to kind of watch people play it. I mean, it looks like exactly how Nintendo would do competitive multiplayer. It's flashy and, looks family friendly. It reminded me of Garden Warfare, which I have not played a lot of, but just from the art style that it had, that's what it reminded me
I thought it kind of looked cool. The idea that it's like really not based on combat. It's more like you have to paint your environment, right? And whatever you paint, you can travel into because you're a squid.
Okay.
And it's different. To listen to the guys talk, the developers talk about how they got to this point was kind of neat. Just the innovation, trying to avoid something violent, because Nintendo's demographic is probably a little different than AAA stuff. I mean, like not AAA, but you know what I'm saying, mainstream shooters or whatever.
Definitely different than Sony and Microsoft.
Okay, you said it. So Splatoon looks cool. Then we have a couple of Mario spin-off games coming, and Greg, you mentioned one.
The Toad World.
I think it's called like Captain Toad's Treasure. Captain Toad's. I think it's getting late, right?
Yeah.
Captain Toad's Treasure Hunt. This fall. Toad like you've never seen him before.
But there's some other ones too. Don't they have a Yoshi Yarn?
Yeah, Yoshi
World Yarn Festival.
And then Mario Maker.
Oh yeah, that looks cool. That looks fun.
Greg, tell me about Mario Maker and what you take from it.
You can at first it looked really great. It's like you can make the levels from the original Mario game, and that alone I think is going to be really cool to see what people make. They might make puzzle levels, like really interesting, like use the mechanics in weird ways.
I thought you don't have time to sit around and make stuff all day.
I don't. I think it's interesting that other people will do it. This thing, but then what was really cool is they showed that you can actually make levels from the new Mario style games too. Like you can make them look like like
you could like snap them into different Mario engines.
Yeah, I think that's pretty neat. I think it's neato.
I think that's a home run for Nintendo Mario Maker. I think that's my favorite thing that they showed. Right? They also showed Hyrule Warriors, which is whatever, right?
Yeah.
They all okay. The big thing, I had a whole write up on this. I must have lost them, but the Amiibo little figurines, right? Okay, Amiibo are basically figurines, just like Skylanders or Disney, and looks like Nintendo's getting into that area, right?
You play Super Smash Brothers, and then if you want a new guy to come in, you could put this thing on your controller, and you just spend $8 on some piece of shit toy.
Probably more than that.
Give me a fucking break.
What am I missing from Nintendo?
Well, then they had the Miyamoto game, which is 3DS, which is from the same studios that did Fire Emblem, and that's going to be like XCOM tactical RPG. I thought that looked really cool. I love getting stuff to play on my 3DS. Star Fox is coming back.
Okay, that's the game I've been waiting for from Nintendo. Star Fox. They don't have much to show, but they showed that they're working on it. Basically, they had a little bit of demo playable. Basically, you fly a ship around and Falco yells at you. But that's something I've been waiting for a while. So good on Nintendo for actually coming through with some of that shit. Any other big thing? I'm missing something. I'm missing a big.
There was
one.
the tech demo that they did with the super giant robots that were fighting.
Oh right. Where you
I
have
saw
to
people
lean
play that,
forward,
but like I said, I didn't actually get to go hands on with that at all or anything like that.
lean around with
Yeah.
the thing. I don't know. That stuff is a little that's a little last year, 2 years ago type thing where they're trying to find uses for the Wii U gamepad. They're a little forced, but all in all, Nintendo came up with some stuff that I think people were really hanging on. So I'm glad that they came through with a lot of things that they did, and I'll buy some games for Nintendo. I have a lot already. I have a lot of Nintendo games right here, but I'll have more after that conference. I'm going to go ahead and give Nintendo, which is a big upgrade from last year, I'm going to give them a B also. So B's across the board from me. I think the digital way to have a conference with their whole treehouse thing was probably the way E3 is probably headed eventually. But who knows?
I'll give them a B plus. I thought
So- So,
that
Greg,
they
with
wanted
your opinion on Nintendo, usually how you're usually pretty strong opinion about how they're going under, or they should sell their IPs off.
I still think they should.
So after this conference, did your feelings change on that at
No,
all?
not at all. I still think they should do that. I think they should be developing these games for everyone to play. For other consoles, they'd make a fucking killing off that shit. But as far as the conferences are concerned, I think they had the most fun to watch, and I give them an A minus.
I'm waiting for your audio. Okay. You love the gong. Why the
Well,
gong?
It's
There's got to be
Nintendo.
something else. Oh, okay. What were you saying, Greg?
It's an Eastern sound. It's an Eastern
Oh,
sound.
okay. Now you're taking my soft racial terms. My soft.
Yeah.
Eastern. It's Eastern.
It's Eastern sound then.
He's not Mexican. He's Southern. Right?
Okay.
Greg, you got a guitar? So that's it, Josh. What do you give Nintendo?
I said B plus.
B plus? I
Yeah.
give B's across the board. It was a very, very safe E3 for everybody for me. Josh, before we wrap up here, because we're going on 2 hours, do you have anything you want to wrap up on E3 since you were on the floor this year? Any experiences you want to talk about real quick? Anything noteworthy?
There's two sides to E3. There's the at every press conference. Actually, it was perfectly demonstrated by the press conferences I went to. At Microsoft and Sony, there were people who were sitting behind me, and I'm sitting in a press section, and there were people behind me who just were completely like, oh yeah, like these very B press conferences that we came away with. There were people who just like, oh snap, I can't believe he said that. I can't believe this is coming. And I was just like, wow, that's great. This
Holy
is
crap.
awesome. And then when I was at Ubisoft and EA, there were business people who obviously have a high stake in EA sitting there going like, yes, this is our company, very.
Yes.
And that demonstrates E3. Like there are you will see this guy walking around like I told you a couple nights ago, like wearing the Los Santos hat with hair down to his ass and built in the circle of a donut. And then you turn around, there's some guy obviously with wearing business attire going to a meeting to sign one of the deals that makes Greg so angry. And so that's E3. It's a weird dynamic. And
Are those people clapping for Greg playing guitar or Josh's good little wrap up there?
Josh's wrap up.
Oh, okay. It would be louder if it was for your guitar, right, Greg?
Yeah.
This is our E3 fun show wrap-up song. Actually, Greg, play what you were playing the other night when we were on the podcast. Play the
WildStar music?
grungy WildStar music. Yeah, play it loud. like you're in the tavern, right? So keep playing that. That's going to be our outro this week. Josh,
Yo.
thanks so much for hanging out, dude. I hope you had a really good time at E3, and I hope to join you next year. I'll actually see you. We're actually going to be roommates in Seattle this year for PAX Prime, so I'm really excited about that. Hopefully, a lot more stuff's going to be playable. You know, I'm real happy with this year's E3. It was a safe bet by everybody, and I can't wait to play stuff in the fall. But we'll keep you posted on that. Greg, keep playing. Don't stop. Thank you so much for trying out this Google Hangouts thing with us. This is kind of different. Maybe we'll do it more often. Who knows? But Greg, thanks.
You're welcome.
Yeah, there we go. That's what I'm waiting for. So hopefully everything's ironed out in the studio for next week. We'll try to get us on a regular podcast, but maybe we'll do this separate. Maybe we'll do something else that has to do with this. So anyway, thank you so much for hanging out, guys. AwayCast.com. Follow Josh. Josh, what's your Twitter? Go ahead and plug your Twitter, man.
Joshua9, JOSHYWA9.
And you can follow me at the AwayCast. And Greg, you can listen to his awesome music everywhere. What's the most recent TV show you've been on, Greg?
Michael J. Fox Show.
Oh, yeah.
That's the song I did for Michael J. Fox.
Yeah. Are you sure it wasn't just a gong? Alright, guys, thanks for hanging out at AwayCast.com. Check this out on YouTube. Leave comments and all that crap. I sound like such a typical YouTube streamer, right? I shouldn't say all that stuff.
No. You have to. We have to.
You have to? I don't really want to. Anyway, I hope you took something out of this. We'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks for hanging out.
Later.
And, deuces. See you next E3.
Later.